Yo, 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 what's going on, everyone? It's just Three-Headed Monster podcast
Yeah,
with Brother Brian coming to you live from Philadelphia, Philly. Um,
Philadelphia.
nah, it's not been crazy lately though, but it's been interesting. They
Right.
lifted the mask mandate, which is kind of surprising. You got ain't nobody wearing a mask here.
Right. Right.
so,
It sure
so
was
what's
a
going on, everyone?
loosen.
I'm gonna let people come in. Let people come in because I know we start off a little bit late. So let
A
you
little bit.
let you do your
I
thing. Let you do
apologize.
your thing. Let me put my phone on silent so we don't get disturbed. Um, but I do want to give a small opinion, if you don't mind, about this whole situation over in Europe.
I mean, that's what this show is.
No,
Opinion.
okay. I thought you were going to say something else. Um,
So, all right. I was just tagging a few people, sharing it with
no.
a few we normally give.
Oh no, we gotta do it. All right. My bad, my bad. This is some brother Brian for the Three-Headed Monster podcast coming to if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. Please interact with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is the Three-Headed Monster podcast. Um, we also have our Facebook page. It's not like it's supposed to be. I got to do some more work on it. Which is the Three Headed Monster podcast. This probably is live off of Jerome's Facebook page. Um, uh, yeah, what's going on, Mr. Eric Starr? Toledo,
What's
Toledo,
up, brother
Toledo.
Shaw?
But at the same time, we have our website at the 3hmonster.com. And if anybody wants to donate to the Cash App, we put it down in the descriptions to help us keep this podcast going. You know, but if you want to, you're gonna want to. That's fine. But at the same time, show us some love. Please comment. Please, we are a podcast that keep it real, and we do try to do as best as we can on the research that we do bring forth. Um, we do claim that we indigenous people. We are indigenous people to this land. Um, we do not claim that we came here off of slave ships. So some people might have a problem with it. Some people don't care. It's just what we say. We indigenous people. We indigenous Americans, um, and that's what we're gonna do. But we try to bring as much research possible. We don't. Sometimes we might come off the top of the head because some of the stuff we do know. A lot of the stuff that we do put in work. So I said my piece. Go ahead and do your thing, Jerome.
Yeah, you had a big opening there.
Hey man, you know I
Yeah, that's
sometimes
good.
I'm really
But
excited, man. I'm happy, man.
I understand. I think before I get started with the normal uh, this disclaimer that I give, I do want to give a shout out to all the people from around the world
Yes,
that tunes in to watch our podcast. Um, we get a huge amount of our brothers and sisters from the African continent
true
that
that, true
watches.
that.
And that is not surprising to me, but it's enlightening to me because we always claim to be indigenous to here in North America,
But
and for
they are
them
cousin.
to follow us and support us, that's one love, and we definitely appreciate that. Um, as always, Hello to the Facebook family. Hello to our YouTube family. Hello to everybody that's joining us this evening. Uh, this is an interactive show, so feel free to comment. We'll go back and forth with our comments with you, try to answer as many questions as we can. But as always, don't believe anything that we tell you. What you hear, go and research it for yourself. Once
Facts.
you find the answers, once you find your truth, come back. Let's discuss it and let's build upon what you know. And that's all we're here for, just to build and grow. We're not here to teach you a different kind of ideology. We're not here to sway you away from anything. We're just here to build with you. We're gonna present a lot of truth, and it's up to you what you do with it. What's up, B?
Yo, yeah, yeah. Like I was gearing to get into it, but it's just something that's yo, what's going on, Carbon King? What's going on? What's going on, Jeremy? Um, it's kind of interesting, man, when we see the news and they're flooding information.
Right.
They're flooding so much information to the fact that is you don't really know what's really going on. You don't really know what's true. You don't know what the narrative is.
The
And
average person does it.
so we see the situation that's going on in Ukraine.
All
My
right.
opinion, and this is just my opinion. I don't give two shits about it because me being here, if you don't care about me here, why should I care about any other situations when we spending billions of dollars to help other people when you don't help your people here in your own country? So my opinion
That's
on
fair.
that is it is a situation when you see Europe being Europe, Europe being old Europe. So I mean, history is history. So to see that happen, but I think the thing that bothered me the most is listening to these evangelical Christians praise this situation. That word Christian bothers me because you seeing we're supposed to love our brothers, we're supposed to help our brothers, but you're seeing a war go out, you're seeing one literally trample over another one, and it's okay. It's cool. You praise the person that's doing it. So you see a bully being a bully, and you praising the bully to be a bully. I
That's
have a
because
problem with
you're a
that.
bully. That's because you're a bully.
So that's my piece on it. Do I put energy in it? That's all energy you're gonna get out of me at it. So I don't know if you want to comment on it or let's get into this
I
lesson.
mean,
It's on you.
I,
That's on you.
I'll comment on it just because you did. Other than that, I wouldn't. I wouldn't even bring it up. I think it's a tragic situation for anybody to lose their life, because there's bigger um, things at play than the people that are getting killed.
Hmm.
Um, it's tragic, but as you said, there's a history. You don't have to go far back into the history of that continent to understand what's going on. I'll leave it at that. It's a terrible tragedy.
So, all right, that's enough energy. Let's move on because I can't less. I can't less. So, Jerome, break
Yes,
down
sir.
the gully people for me. I got my notebook
Got your notebook? All right.
because I mean I
Let me
know
get my pen.
the last time we talked about it, we kind of ran through it. So now we're gonna come back
Right.
and try to put some stuff together
Right.
because I hate to go through a lesson and I'm trying to drop notes. I'm trying to drop notes as stuff is going, and I'm kind of like missing out. So I know you want. I know you had. You know you wanted to bring a little bit more on that. So let's eat, man. Let's eat. I'm ready to eat.
All right. Uh, Trying to look back and see what old notes I had. So, 'cause I wrote something today. I'll just go with that though. Man, listen, I tried to do some extra study
Hmm.
today. Prior to, and man, I was just like, I was wanting to escape from the plantation after listening to it. It was like, I was planning to meet by the river or something. But but the whole narrative, even with them, the people, the Gullah people, when they tell it, especially from the perspective of those that are still in South Carolina, um, uh, like the Charleston area, um, it pains me that they try to hang on to the slave narrative
Okay.
because it makes them money.
Hmm.
That makes sense. When you come down there, you've been to Charleston, right? And have you bought
Yeah.
one of the baskets that they weave?
Hmm.
I don't know who buys a $600 basket that's made of grass, but good gracious. I mean, it's so profitable for them, you know.
Hmm.
But I won't even get into that. I love, hey, everybody got their hustle. Hey, do your thing. But it's the narrative that I don't agree with. Um, Now, when you look at or when you study the Gullah people, or a lot of people down there like to call themselves Geechee, or the people around them call them Geechees. Um, I guess it's kind of a catchphrase or you know a moniker that they use. Um, but how it all started was, and even when they tell their story or their history, they don't really go past the 1600s.
Hmm.
You know, they 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 started with when the Portuguese came over and the Portuguese got into the slave trade. And so, if you know anything about the language that they use down there, right? It's a mix of English and a mix of about 20 different Western African languages.
Hmm.
Um, and which is interesting to me is because for it to be so integrated, that you have 20 different languages so integrated plus English, it shows you that they had to be here on the coast for a while. And I'm talking
Hmm.
about at least hundreds of years to where they integrated the language and where they had they done trade,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
So the Gullah people were very industrious with rice, and rice and the sugar that grew on the coast of South Carolina, the coast of North Carolina, the coast of Georgia, and the Caribbean. There's a lot of Caribbean influence too.
Hmm.
So, so when you look at these people, they're not really like they are one people, but they have a lot of different influence. And when you see a lot of different influences, it reminds me of the Phoenician people. Because you were trading with so many different countries and so many different places that the languages became integrated and the language became expounded upon, right?
Yeah.
So you have these Gullic people that got enslaved, during the time of slavery. But what was interesting for them is when the Civil War broke out, that most of these people lived on these islands that are right off the coast of South Carolina and Georgia. Well, all the slave owners actually left the islands. And so they left the people there. And
Hmm.
so they were actually free prior to uh, anything that Lincoln done or anything the United States done as far as abolishing slavery, because they didn't really have nobody was left on the island but them. So they began, to take back the land, and they began to do business for themselves, live life for themselves, and they became independent. That's why the language is so closed off and so unique from everything else. I see your M&Ms.
Oh,
So,
you might want to leave alone.
so
I was my bad. I was reading that.
yeah. So I mean, so that's how they became so independent.
No, I was looking at one of these comments somebody did on YouTube,
Okay.
which is true. Which is true.
Yeah.
You know, which is
Yeah.
true. Yeah,
Oh
sexual.
yeah. I mean, that's the crazy thing that when the slave trade, got enacted and became a worldwide thing, it hasn't stopped. I mean, there's still Africans being sold into the Middle East. I mean, there's uh, over here, there's people being sold through, through trafficking, all over the world. So yes, it is underground, if you will, because it's illegal.
I mean, especially when you look at it, because a lot of people keep under this notion that we. I understand some of us. I can even say maybe 2 million. I'm stretching it saying 2 million people came here on slave ships because you have to
Right.
understand transporting people back then. You transporting by wind, and if you
Right.
look at any pirate movie, video, anything, it is hard to travel if you don't know the ocean current, and you got to understand that current that's coming from Africa, that's coming to South America. That whole I don't forgot the name of that current, but if you don't know that current, you're not going to make it. So a lot of us traveled from, the trade is from Colombia, not from, from Africa to South America, from South America to, again, North America.
Western.
So it was a lot of, it's like you saying, it's a lot of trade that's going on. So that means it's a language that's going on. So in other words, you get dialects of being around a bunch of people that you used to be in. So
Right.
they were still able to communicate with trade. Now, when we come to this portion of understanding this is we're doing a series talking about slave rebellions because a lot of people don't understand. We just got done with Black history, and they make it seem like the blacks here. I'm gonna say blacks. I'm gonna say indigenous blacks, Negro, whatever narrative you want to, African Americans, all right, whatever with that. But let's get to that point when it explains to you that we fought. We just ain't sit here and pick cotton and sing, spiritual, Negro spirituals as we picking cotton. We
Right.
fought. We fought a
Right.
lot, and we just gonna show you. We This is what we're gonna do. We're just gonna show you rebellion. If you go back and check our channel, we've been breaking down nothing but just history that I've been learning that they don't teach in school. Even back to the first pilgrims, to the first people. We even proved to you who was the first people to come here, the first company to come here. So it's interesting studying history and now you understand this whole critical race theory BS. It's not critical race, it's truth. A lot of people don't like to hear truth, and we starting to see who don't like to hear the truth, but we don't care because we love history, and we're going to tell you what we know. So, understanding these rebellions, understanding this will let you know that the Civil War was not really to free slaves. That's a whole different narrative. But and then it also makes you understand what the Reconstruction was really all about. Because
Right.
the
They
Reconstruction
reconstructed history.
is a lot deeper than most people think. We thinking, oh, this is when the slaves was getting. Within 10 years, we already had people that was, senators and, senators, congressmen. You trying to tell me slaves all of a sudden just become that powerful? So
But
it's a lot of history that they don't want. They tried to. They had to understand how to change the narrative because when somebody lose power, they got to find a way to gain their power back. And we kind of seeing that overseas when we talk about the situation in, with Russia and Ukraine. Some people want their history back, and they'll fight by
yeah,
force to try to take it back.
and you
So
get your history back so you can control the narrative. I think a lot of time where we don't think because we want to skip through things, we want to say people were enslaved, right? So
mhm.
people were enslaved and they wasn't allowed to read. They wasn't allowed to, teach one another things. So in that time that you talked about during the Reconstruction, how was it that you had politicians, doctors, scientists, engineers, lawyers? They just sprung out of nowhere from a people that couldn't read, that were illiterate, that were only thing they knew how to do was tend to cotton and all these things. That narrative makes no sense. So when we talk about rice trade, especially in South Carolina, lower South Carolina was huge, right? But rice, especially the rice that was being grown, wasn't indigenous to South Carolina. It was indigenous to West Africa. So it wasn't brought from Europe with slave trade. So that means it had to already be trade, and there had already be people that traveled back and forth that understood the engineering and the cultivation of rice. And it was already going on when it was interrupted by Europeans. That's the thing that's the narrative, that's the piece that we're missing.
Yeah, I was my bad. I'm reading, this crying hippie. Um, he's but he put out a lot. I know people on Facebook can't see it, but on YouTube, he he said he went back to Africa, which is, I mean, I commend you to go back to Africa and the changes and stuff that you're doing. Um, I would love to go see the place. I would, it's interesting because I don't have anything. Only thing I hate about the situation between us and people of Africa is it's no connection. Um, and it sometimes it shows when the interaction between, especially when you have certain Africans come here, they don't look at it as brother or as we're kinmen in a sense. But at the same time, I don't show disrespect because they say you're from the motherland. I mean, I just hate the situation that happens over in Africa. I wish colonization has hurt people of color.
The world.
Okay, the world, but indigenous people everywhere have been destroyed. Africa, I mean, Australia, New Guinea, New Guinea. Am I saying it right? No, I'm probably saying it wrong.
New
Our
Guinea.
ancestors, mhm,
You saying New Guinea?
New Guinea. You see people even wiped out, even here. Millions, millions of our ancestors was wiped out here. South America, Central America, indigenous, and it's anywhere. I mean, you can even say India or anywhere on those, those islands, anywhere colonization stepped foot, they destroyed. They destroyed history, they destroyed knowledge, and they destroyed tradition.
Right. I think that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing for me is the mentality that was destroyed. I see it on YouTube the comment when he's talking about we all brothers, and that's true. I think that mentality that united just because of brotherhood, not because of religion, not because of where you are, not because of proximity, but just because we're brothers. That mentality, I think, was destroyed. The narrative of what an American, uh, I use to term black, is, and what it's been promoted around the world. That's what causes division because they think we don't have any dignity or self dignity, you know, because of what we allow to happen to us and the things that we promote, through entertainment.
Facts.
And so I don't know. It's just getting back to the Geechee or the Gullah people. They had a trade, they had a technology, you know, and that a lot of people think that when you say they speak in Geechee, that's a lower English, if you will,
Hmm.
but it's not. It's an extremely complicated language because it has so many different um, source languages that are included in it. Like I said, you can over 20 different Western African languages and dialects is inside of this language. That in itself is amazing. It's much like the American language. American English is a combination of different countries also. But
Different dialects, different way.
right,
Like
we
you
don't
going down
understand is
south.
that we think it's English, but it's not.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, we need to understand that we are we are a strong group of people. We are a strong family if we act like a family.
Right,
But when I guess the reason why we are bringing forth these rebellions is when a group of people come together. When we get fed up, we stand up. All hell breaks loose,
right,
and we have fought, we have, you know, for us to constantly go through what we go through and we're still strong. We're not unified. Somewhat, we're divided, and you got to understand why we're divided. You got to understand why things have been put forth to constantly. If you keep a strong group of people away from being the core strength of unity, because when we come together, I hate it when we come together when a tragic situation happens,
right,
or somebody's died, or you heard when the situation with George Floyd, and you see the rallies that happen, and you see the fear that they had when we came together, or we'll burn this down.
I'm with you on that. I think it's the things or the extremes that it takes for us to come together.
Yes.
Hey, brother Waltho, uh, he, yeah, put that up for me, B. What he just said. Yeah, and see, that's what I'm talking about. Being on the coast, I said all those different languages were because we were trading for thousands of years on the coast. And so, like I said, it's just like the Phoenician language when we was trading in North Africa. Um, I mean, it's the same example. You know, that in itself should be proof that we were here prior to any intervention of Europeans. Just for that,
I mean, you got to look at it though. How far, when it comes to just learning anything European, it's hard. How far back can you go? Because it's not you.
it de- it depends on what your definition of European is.
Well, well,
I
well,
can
well,
tell
well,
you how
well,
far to go back.
when I say Europeans, the current European status of today, which I would say Caucasian Europeans,
Right,
because we've been everywhere. I mean, people need to study Russian. The Russian language was invented by a colored man.
Did you
Research.
say colored man?
I said,
You talking about Alexander? Who? What's his name? Alexander uh, Blavatsky?
it's crazy how you say it
Yeah,
because you be like, how the hell do you get that name? But
yeah, yeah,
by
yeah. Yeah, I
is
know
is
exactly what you're talking about.
I
Because
would say
most
African.
of what you call Russia, that was civilized. They were
Mhm.
speaking French. Because France had invaded them
So
years ago.
all right, let's get to these lessons. Let's get to this lesson. Where you want to go? Where you want to go? Did our current language come from us? Oh boy, he just threw a question out there.
Okay, did our
Are,
current
are
language
we
come
talking, are we
from us?
talking about English? If we saying English, I would say yes. Our current
Well,
language, huh?
well, well. English, uh, English, Spanish.
What I mean,
Uh,
that's still. What's the word I'm looking for? That's what's other language? That's Latin.
yeah,
So
well,
that,
see, that's what I'm saying. If they all have like a Latin base, the Latin base or the base of Latin comes from African speak or darker speaking people. You know, that's the syntax of language. They say it derives out of Africa. So any language that's spoken on the earth comes from an indigenous person. Um, Now, how the dialect regionally shapes up, like you talking about the last 1,000 years, you know, just because of grouping, who's there grouped long enough, it's gonna shape the language.
mhm. And also people have to understand that if you go back and you read on some of the Romans when they first invaded England, they said it was just barbaric or they was a bunch of people uncivilized to a certain extent. They was more Vikingish, not Vikingish. What's the word I'm looking for? The people that's in that region, that northern region.
Oh, you talking
What's the
about
word?
that they were the Goths?
Yes. So when you go, I actually research England, and you come to find out England used to be had a Roman, a black Roman emperor.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
it's facts when it's get so much stuff get whitewashed that you have to erase it and you have to scrub it to the fact if you don't want that it's kind of understand you understand when people try to conquer you it's because eventually as a retaliation or
If
they
you the
found a
last
way,
one, you
huh?
probably retaliate. If you the last one, you probably retaliate. You could go study the Ivory woman or the Bengal woman of England, and you'll find something very. Um, here's his thing. If you want to talk about language and the build of language, um, so you remember in school when you had to study the story of Grendel. You remember that the story of Grendel?
Grindle.
Yeah.
I'm from Gaffney. You gotta understand we're a little bit lower. We're a little bit lower.
Oh, I'm sorry,
We
but
was we wasn't advancing Gaffney, South Carolina.
okay, wait. But here's the thing: when you learn that story, you learned it in a modern language, but you didn't understand it was in what they call Middle English.
Uh-huh.
So if so think about that. If there's a was a Middle English, there's a present English that's above it. So there had to be a lower English. So that means there was three different times that the language, yeah, the story of Beowulf. Uh, uh, so the language, even in England, has changed three different times. It's not modern English like what it was spoken today. There was Middle English, and then so there had to be a language prior to that, and there was a language prior to that before the Romans invaded. So language is a fluent thing. like I said, it becomes territorial.
Actually, he got me really thinking. You're gonna make me do some research on that because now you want me to
Yeah,
research language because now when you say it, because if Roman
that means the
invaded,
Romans didn't speak English,
I was
and
about to say they didn't speak
they
English.
didn't speak Italian either.
So now when you see situations like, for instance, when you read the Bible,
There we go.
which is in a King James version, which is supposed to be an English version, it's
Okay,
hard to really grasp and understand the words because words change so much that you
you
can
talking about
get
different
confused.
translations,
Yeah, through translations, you can get certain words misconstrued because if you read it and then and then the way we talk now, because the way we talk now, I didn't talk like this 30, 40 years ago. So
right?
language is always changing. And if you was to get me around, it has different dialects, it has different things. When I'm around, my wife's family, my,
Right.
my Caribbean accent, not say Caribbean accent, I ain't gonna lie though. Not oh, I forgot the language that I be speaking because they're Haitians. So I mean
French Creole.
Creole, not Creole. Yeah, no, yeah, it comes out, and I have a different accent when if I'm around a bunch of because I mean when I'm around people like for African descent, I have I blend into who I'm talking to
Right.
with the accent. So I'm not a type of person that I'm a proud American because I'm gonna tell you now I'm a proud indigenous American. But at the same time, language is a very that's the reason why black and brown people don't get along because of language. Because we're the same
Well,
people.
well, yeah. I mean, language can be just very
It
divisive,
is
right?
it is.
But
And
language,
that's what I'm saying is a division
right,
between say for instance, we cross the border into Mexico, which is right
right,
there.
right.
Now we have a language barrier. Now we us being same people because you got to understand some people who fled from slavery fled into Mexico because Mexico saying nah, we not doing about this. Now everybody has to understand the people in South America, the people in Central America, they lost their language too because
Yeah,
now they speak in Spanish because they was conquered by the
slave
Spain.
language
So language is something that everybody language changes.
controls.
Everybody in the world speaks English. That's the crazy part.
That's because it controls you. They use language for control.
But it don't
If
stop
if
you from being
you
who you are.
if you like if me and you
Hmm.
knew our native tongue, we could speak to each other, and nobody would be the wiser of what's going on. That's why they made you speak English because they want to know what you're saying. They want to know what your plans are. You could be killed for speaking anything outside of the slave language.
Oh, we need to do a show on that. That's what we need to do a show on the indoctrination, especially in schools. I'm gonna tell you
Yeah,
now, especially in schools because we have a lot of our indigenous people who kids was kidnapped. Well, not say kidnapped, but trained to speak English and only speak English and lost whatever the way you have to get through you want to destroy a generation or you want to destroy a history of your people, reprogram the kids minds
of
because they
course.
won't be able to pass they won't pass that knowledge on.
Because
So
they don't know it. The reason why our people don't pass the knowledge is because when you change the language, some things were told in the old language.
mhm.
Whether you want to call it Indian language or anything uh, of that nature. Once you take that language from people, there's some things that you miss that's missed in translation. For example, you brought up the Bible, right?
Mhm.
And I think your point was to say that it's so many translations today that the message gets lost, right? But how about the original text that they were using, whether you want to call it the Bible, whatever canon that you want to call it, you know, it was placed into one language by, and it's crazy, Saint Jerome, who wrote the Venitash, uh, and they wrote it into Latin, right?
Uh,
One language into Latin, and so can you imagine how much was lost in translation to put all these different texts from around the world into one language and then to call it canon? I mean, man, come on.
true, 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 true. That's it, man. We talking about language, man. Language is so dangerous, and it's so. When I mean it's so dangerous, that my wife speaks French, Spanish, Creole, English. She would tell you English is the hardest. They speak their native. They speak Creole. They're from a French colony, so they have to speak French. Some speak Dutch, which I'm still understanding who the hell wants to speak Dutch, but you have to, especially in St. Martin. It depends
But
if you're on the French side or the Dutch side,
right,
and you learn to speak other language to be a part of how things are. Now, the thing about it is how dangerous it is when, like, for instance, my son. I was ignorant that I didn't want him to really, again, closed minded, not being, not being understanding self, because I was so indulged in Christianity and is such of a proud American that I kind of was at first against, learning anything else other than American. That's where my ignorance was. And until I got around the family and understanding the culture, and now I respect the culture because I had to learn the culture. And I was like, wow, they don't teach you this in school. So what you don't learn in school, you use it as your map of how things are. You won't see nothing other than what, if they didn't teach me this in school. I went through 12 years of school. Some went through 12 years of school to graduate. And if they don't teach you anything else in that school, you will look at everything else as this is how the world's supposed to be. Because
that's
this is what,
indoctrination.
and it's an indoctrination. To the fact is, when I broke out of that, I made my son learn this culture. I made him understand who is his grandfather is from, who his grandmother's from, him speaking Creole, him understanding French, and him understanding a culture other than America's culture. Understanding the United States culture. Let me get that corrected. Because this culture, indoctrination, is so deep. You see what we do when we go to every other country. We would try to make your country mimic our country, knowing that our country is fucked up. But we want you to learn how our thing is. So this is interesting, understanding how crazy this is. And I mean, I'm sorry that we off topic,
Yeah.
but
But let me say this though: French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, uh, some Bulgarian languages. They all have the same syntax though. They all come from the same place. So that's why it's easy if you could speak French, you could learn Spanish easy, and vice versa, and Italian because they all have the same syntax. So language language is a science also. You know, language can tell you a lot about people. Like, when you listen to somebody and they have a certain accent, right? As you said, accent or dialect, they pronounce words in a certain way. The reason why they pronounce it like that is because they had an original language still programmed in their DNA. And so when they speak and certain things come out a certain way, like you said, why can't you pronounce that right? It's because there's an old language that's in that people that's still in their DNA, and it still comes out. That's why certain people in the area that you can tell where people are from. I've heard somebody from Compton. I know they from Compton because tell the way they pronounce certain words. Tell
Hmm.
people that are from Louisiana, South Carolina, North Carolina, New York. You can tell. Because those accents. It's just not because you're from New York, you're supposed to speak it that way. It's because of the people, the language, being around each other. It's being passed down from generation to generation. So language is a beautiful thing, man. We should be linguists. You know what I'm saying? We should study language. We should study etymology of words, where things come from, why they're spoken, what they mean, what they truly mean. We have this thing in the understands this big is that you talk about witchcraft, right? And putting
Hmm.
spells on people. That's what the media does because words are spelled, right? So so when you talk, you actually are casting spells. That's why do you think the word nigga has so much power in America? It's been
Yeah, because they don't say it nowhere else.
what I'm saying, it's been cast, it's been put out there, it's in your psyche, it's witchcraft.
I should change this to the language channel. Hey, and I guess this dude crying hippie, he said, "I bet your son knows Jesus Christ." I bet you my son don't. Let me go ahead and let me break that down to you, dude. I've been out of the church for 6, 7 years. My son ain't been in the church in like 5 or 6 years. My, you don't want to hear what my 12-year-old son to talk to you about. He's on the metaphysics, dude. Me and him had a conversation that blows me away. I'm learning stuff from him just because of I'm allowing him to learn stuff that he be showing me stuff. He was like, "Dad, I need you to explain something." Cause dude, when your son turn around, Jerome, I know we so far off topic. He asked me, Jerome, Dad, what's my third eye? What? I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, Dad, yeah, tell me about the third eye. All right, dude, we about to go in this deep conversation. So, no, I don't teach my son religion because I'm not religion. So, care less about that. Now, was he brought up in the church when he was born? Yeah, but he's not now. Because again, once you open your mind and you break out of a cycle, again, once you get out of indoctrination and once you know who you are, man, that's just done. Me and Jerome can tell you that. You don't want us to get to talking about religion because we both deep into it. I was a Sunday school teacher. I was a minister. He was the same thing. We can that's how we can sit here and talk about it. But at the same time, I'm not gonna bash anybody that's in it. So no, we nah. His mom might be. Me? Nah. My boy? Nah. But at the same time, I'm not gonna stop him if he wants to. So that's one thing I'm not gonna do is, to get to a point that I feel like I'm on a spiritual path. I understand I'm on a higher understanding to I'm more connected with the ancestors. I'm more connected with my inner self, my subconscious. I'm more intercepting with the universe and understanding and respect people as people. Care less about your color of your skin because that's just melanin, you know. But at the same time, I will. But then at the same time, my mindset is I'm looking at you and I can tell everything about you by just listening to your conversation that let me know where you at within yourself. Because if I'm studying history, that means I'm studying patterns. and patterns is something that people can tell. Jerome can tell you
That's science.
it's a science, but at the same time, if you connected with somebody, because right now, Jerome can tell you if I'm in a good mood or I'm in a bad mood. Your Jerome will call me and it's like, "Yo, bro, I feel like something's wrong. Talk to me," because we're connected. We ain't connected through Jesus. We're connected because the universe has us connected as a brotherhood because of the energy that we're connected to.
Right.
You know, if you look at what we do, we bounce off of each other. We don't come on here to debate. I hate debating with people because debate will show sometimes will show ignorance. We're here to build, and that's all we try to do is build and respect one another. We just don't respect the history that we've been taught to us. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it is. And I'm sorry, damn it, we off this. How long we been on? Damn, dude, we freaking one we're
But
talking
hey,
about. All right, let me get to my lesson. Let me get to my lesson. Let me get to my lesson.
all
All right,
right, all right.
the
But
Louisiana Rebellion of 1811.
before you go into it, let me say this because you had your
All right, get your
monologue.
last word out because I got
Yeah,
to get
you had
into it. I got to get into
your,
it.
yeah, you had
If
your
we already about to
monologue.
hit out, we
So
about to hit an hour mark, and you already know we don't try to go over an hour. But go ahead.
I'm gonna let you get back into it. But is this person saying that we need to find Jesus together? Or
Man, I don't
is
know.
that what happened?
No, he made a comment. And again, you come after my seed, I'm gonna come after you. It ain't. I didn't take it. I didn't take it personal. I'm gonna take that now. I didn't take it personal. He was saying because of what I said in the beginning, how I was
Right,
ignorant and
right, right,
me
right, right.
closed
I think,
minded.
I think, I think people get confused when we start talking about indoctrination. That we're against Christianity or against any organized religion. I'm not against any organized religion because I used to participate heavily, uh, at the higher levels, you know, in organized religion. But the thing is that understanding, understanding that you have been indoctrinated, understanding that with free thought, you can have higher learning. Is the key. It's not about uh, dogma. It's about freedom, freedom of thought. And that's the only thing that we try to convey in our messages. Free thought. Think for yourself. You know,
Research.
research.
God
Be
damn.
rational. Go ahead, get into your message, B.
All right, I got you. You say he wasn't saying. He said, "I didn't say, brother. Just ask if your son knew Jesus."
Right,
Well,
right, right.
was he gonna say about the religion? My son will talk to you about religion because he's not deep into religion.
I mean, it's cool.
But
We
but
understand.
again, we
It's
don't.
all love.
I mean, actually, we will talk about the Bible. It's lessons in the Bible. The point is, I guarantee you, people read Genesis and do not even understand what they read in Genesis because nobody teaches that in Genesis. I guarantee you, the first three chapters in Genesis, a lot of people do not understand what they just read. But
Dude.
that's a whole different story. But
Oh. Let me say this. See, you got it started. You shouldn't have started. But I see
I
where he's
see.
talking about. He's talking about heavenly angels, which is interesting because if you read the Bible, you really don't see the angels named in the whole Bible. You might talk about the heavenly host, but there's no real description. Now, if you want to talk about what's in Isaiah as a description of an angel, that's kind of wild. But the angels came from the second book that King James put out. First, when he did the Bible in 1611,
Oh,
that same year, he put out another book called Demonology. And
true that.
demonology taught about demons and angels. And so when you mainly get from the Catholic the teachings of angels and demons. That's mostly where that comes from. Your Pentecostals over here in the United States really don't get into, they talk about guardian angels and they talk about heavenly hosts, but that's about it. Just gonna hear those words, and they don't really teach the demonology, or they don't teach on angels. That's the Catholic, and like I said, that came from King James in 16, book that he put out called Demonology.
A lot of people
Right
don't
after
talk
he
about
put
that.
out.
A lot of people do not talk about that. And then nobody tells you what the original translation of the King James Version comes from.
Ooh. But go ahead.
Because when you
You're not gonna
destroy.
get into your story, B.
All right, damn it. Let's get it. All right, let's get into Louis. All right, session ended. We're talking about the Louisiana the rebellion of 1811. If you want to understand more of it, it is called the German Coast Uprising. Now, we have to understand Louisiana had two major rebellions.
Right.
One was so ah it was so pop it was so again, let's get into this. This is one that I had to when I ran across it, I was kind of, oh, this is interesting. So we have this guy named Charles Deslondes, is Deslondes. He was an overseer. His dad was white, his mom was black. What we get to, slave, and he was an overseer. Now, being an overseer, it was a mean overseer, because now when you feel like you're overseer, you get in favor because your dad is who he is, and your mom. So you're not in the house, but you're not in the slave house. So this dude is overseeing, and he's in the he's plotting. He's plotting a rebellion. Now, the rebellion starts in Woodland Plantation. That is the starting point. Him and a dude named Kook, Kook, and
Kooky.
yeah, this is crazy, dude. These names is son. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm bad with names. I have 6 kids, and I will butcher every last one of my kids' names to try to get to the one that I'm trying to get to. And another one called Kwamana. So these three came together. They secretly was meeting,
Right.
and they found the perfect time. It's always when you find the perfect time to do a rebellion. It's always either a full moon, so you can see what's really going on, or sometimes it might be an eclipse. It's always something that gives you a sign that you want to do a rebellion. So this rebellion, 124 to 500 slaves, captured slaves, went down this Mississippi River terrorizing. Because why? They got fed up. So they went up down. So now you got to understand the Mississippi River, which was considered as the German coast. So now you got to understand. I didn't even know Germany was even in a play of being in part of Louisiana. Louisiana is an interesting state that has a lot of different players that was in it. Um, so they went up and down. So this rebellion got to attention that they had to call in the military, because these plantation owners was like, yo, we can't handle these people. And they marched down. The first person that they killed, what the fuck is his name? Ah, damn it, I didn't write his name down. Sorry if I'm cussing. I'm sorry. The most important person that they didn't kill, I'm sorry, y'all. They killed the dad. They killed the son, but they didn't kill the dad. The dad ended up running off. And it's always that one person that you don't kill that would stop a rebellion. He went, they end up getting they good old boys, they proud boys, and they still was defeated. But the point is, now you have a group of militia, and then you have the United States military coming together, and they happen to catch them sleeping and end up stopping this rebellion. But the fact is, certain laws came after this. Because what happened is when you start seeing a bunch of slave plantations coming together, this is why a lot of people have to understand Emancipation Proclamation was put in place because we can't control these Negroes. They keep fighting. They keep fighting. You see, they needed us in wars. We helped them in World War One. We helped them in World War Two. We helped them in the Civil War. We even helped them in the Revolutionary War. You need us to fight for you, but you want to treat us like shit. And when you treat us like shit, we're gonna come and we're gonna fight. So I want a lot of people to really go back and do some research on this because this I'm running through it because we kind of went over time. But 60 miles, and in the way they when they end a revolution, they make a point. They cut off they cut off these the slaves that they captured, and they led a mile 60 miles of beheaded heads on pikes. 60 miles to put a point because that lets you know, which a lot of people got to understand, certain shit that happens to black people, they putting out, they trying to tell you, I'm trying to keep you, you better stay in line. You better stay in line because this is what we're going to do. 60 miles of beheaded people, dude? Yo, that's crazy. Yes, that is true, Mr. Wathrow. It didn't, Emancipation Proclamation didn't free nobody. 13th Amendment didn't free slaves. A lot of people need to research that. Slavery ain't abolished. It's not. Go back and read the 13th Amendment. Please, y'all. Read the second part of the 13th Amendment. About slavery is not abolished. That's why we have the prison systems. That's a whole different story. Actually, I think we talked about that on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did talk about that on the 13th and 14th Amendment. Check that as a podcast that we did. I could say 6 months ago.
Yeah, easy. Maybe 7, 8.
I know it was last year.
Yeah,
Was
it's
it
back
last
there.
year? It was last year. I know we did it. I know it's on YouTube. I know it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
So we have to understand
What's that information?
which one.
You too. Give them the information how to get there.
YouTube. Actually, shit, Three Headed Monster podcast. It will see the Three Headed Monster Anubius, which is the gatekeeper. But 8 years after this revolution, this rebellion happened, Louisiana was sold to the United States, which I still don't understand where the fuck they get this money from, man. I still
You
don't get
keep
this money.
saying that.
Because it baffles me that we saw United States. I mean, we're looking at 17, 1800s. Now,
Right.
maybe does for this country to really make money, they bought the Louisiana Purchase, which gives you Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, the whole basically Midwest. They end up buying, California, Nevada, all that, part of what was Mexico. They purchased Florida from the Spaniards.
And California. That's what they got, California.
How the hell y'all get this damn money, man? I don't know, man. Maybe I need to go back and do that research. But to understand this
Follow the
whole
money.
thing, hmm,
So you got to follow the money.
but then at the same time, what happened after that? The 1812, Louisiana becomes a slave state. So you got to understand when rebel, they
Florida
have
was
to.
big.
Oh, Florida. Oh, we're gonna get to that. We ain't even got to Florida yet. We trying to
Florida
build
was
our way
big.
up to. I think what's the last war we probably talk about? I know we did one of the Trail
Civil
of
War.
Tears, the Gully War. Well, we trying to lead up to the Gully War, but we want to talk about other revolutions. I just want to show people that we didn't sit down and just take this ass whooping like most people think we did.
Nah. There was always fights.
You might have
Always.
but you displaced our people. In other words, you took people from the south to the north, from the north to the south, from the us to the Caribbeans.
East to the West, Caribbean.
So we just tell you the slave trade was backwards. A lot of us left here to go to the Caribbean and from the Caribbean to Africa. So it was a mixture, but it is not 15 million damn people come here on the damn slave ship. You can't even do that to today, man. How you think they did that back then? But some of
Oh,
these, go ahead.
it's interesting to me too, because when you said that 15 million people brought from Africa to the United States to be slaves, right? And when you look at the slave records, it said only like 5% of the people that were brought from Africa were even brought to the United States, or the what we call the continental United States. Most of them went to Brazil, they tell you, and the Caribbean. About 15% went to the Caribbean, they tell you. So, how did Brazil end up with over 100 million black people? So, if we got around 50 million or plus, so they got over 100 million black people in Brazil. Where'd they come from? You telling me they brought all them too on the slave ship? This same 15 million was split between the United States and Brazil, but Brazil ended up making 100 million blacks?
And not only that, when you see some of these pharaohs in these tombs in Egypt have poppy seeds in their system.
And tobacco seeds,
Only place,
cocaine. They don't
only
have they
place.
don't have coca seeds over there.
So where would you get that at?
United
South
States.
America.
Yeah, they were dealing with us for thousands and thousands of years.
But they won't teach you that. And I think that's the problem with this generation or this how we if you want to be astrologer, the age of Aquarius, the age of information, so much information is coming out that you have to know who you are. You can't go by this one book that these people enslaved you and turn around and gave you this book and said you have to follow this book because this is what was written in this book about you, knowing that everything in that book is in reverse.
But you know what's interesting? Now but before you drop the mic, what's interesting, they give you this book, right? But those people were eternally enslaved all the time and looking to be freed.
All the time.
So of course they would give you that book because they want you to have that mindset and that mentality that you're always a servant, servant to something higher than you.
Yeah, I also tell people, man, study the Bible, read it, and not read it listening to somebody else teach you about it. Teach
Right.
yourself about it. Just don't go by one translation. Get a bunch of translation. I'm telling you, it's a lot in that. I'm telling you, that whole Noah thing is a lot different than what you think it is. But I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it because I'm telling you now, these translations. For one, I'm gonna tell y'all this shit now. We are not cursed as a people. We are feared. We're not cursed because they fear us. They thinking we cursed. No, you cursed because you fear us because you know that you're the ones that's cursed. But I'm gonna digress because I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry we didn't get to talk about what we need to get into. I'm apologizing, but at the same time, this is what we do. This is the three-headed monster, and this is what we do. How many times damn, I be writing notes and can't get to these notes because we always off topic.
It take you about 3 months to get to it.
No, but not only that is I'm glad that people are interacting to the fact is that we can talk about this stuff, and language is very very important. Language is important enough that we don't. You won't know the history because I can change certain words about history. Again, like in the Bible, you know, people was cursed. Black people was cursed. If you go back and look at all the demographics, saying for Noah's kids and how this is, how can you sit there and say we're the only race of people that was actually named at all that stuff?
Right.
Nobody else was named. Nobody from Asia, nobody from
Right.
Europe,
Right.
nobody from anywhere else. But the black people, the people of color are cursed because of their skin. This right here is the most valuable thing in this planet. Think about it. Why
Let,
people?
let me throw this out here because you started this.
I
But
know, man.
but when the Bible speaks of Ham, it never says that Ham was cursed. Never. Nowhere in the Bible does it say Ham was cursed. It only said that his son, Canaan, was cursed.
Why would you? Why
Canaan,
would you not curse the dad, but you curse the son?
because the
You don't
son
curse
is
the
the one.
Hebrew.
The son, if you knew the true translation, you know this, his grandson was the one that perpetrated the crime against him while he was sleeping. And I won't get into it. We'll get into that on another day. Why do you think that Sodom and Gomorrah was in Canaan? But anyway, so uh, let's
Dude, we don't need to get into this, dude, because we gonna blow your mind.
all right.
I know I'm gonna blow your mind.
I won't, because like I said, most people, they just casually go by it anyway. They're not really what they claim to be. But anyway, uh,
Oh man, now we starting to get these people. All right, I guess it's time to get off because now we starting to get these annoying ass fucking messages from stupid people.
all right, that's good.
All right, my last words because I like to do it is know that self, love that self, understand that self, believe in that self, and don't be afraid to look in the mirror and say I love you, and it says it I love you too, and then it said I love you back. Understanding that certain situations are anything can be accomplished. Anything can be you can overcome anything. You just got to believe in yourself. Our the way of life and how everything has because of this pandemic has everybody in so fear that everybody thinking the world is coming to an end. But if it is, it's not coming to the end. The old thinking is coming to an end. The truth is coming out. So I digress.
All right. I think what's interesting about what we call the truth. Truth always cycles. I mean, every generation somebody's telling the truth. It just depends on how many people are listening. Um, that's why we can firmly stand on what we believe is truth because it's been passed down. It's been smuggled. It's been brought through history. So that's why we can stand on truth because we do know, uh, what we've studied to be true. Um, well, I won't hold you any longer. What I will
No, no, no,
say,
no, 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 no! Don't do that! Don't do that! I don't. No, 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 no! Don't do that! You know how we do. I just hate it. I mean, we just get so deep that a lot of people, uh, big
what's
granny.
up,
I'm like,
Randy? I
hey,
see you. I
what's
see
up?
you in Atlanta in the ATL. You know,
So
speaking of that,
go ahead, man.
speaking of the ATL, speaking of our lost Mayan population that lives in Atlanta, um, it's just in the numbers that they try to tell you in the United States. So if in the metro of Atlanta, there's 6 million people, and then almost half of those people are designated as black.
Hmm.
I'm saying, how are we still the minority in the United States? I'm just wondering,
Oh,
man.
that 13% is that 13% is you know.
But anyway, I won't get into that. What I will say, man, continue, y'all. Listen, can y'all hear me?
Okay.
Continue to believe in yourself. Continue to push yourself to know more than you knew yesterday.
Facts.
Continue to look at your brother and say, come on, we can do better than this. You
Facts.
know what I'm saying? And as long as we can do that with each other, man, we can get out of this. Um,
Unplug yourself in the damn matrix.
open your eyes. Use common sense. When you say, it just don't make sense, that's because it doesn't. Believe yourself. Believe yourself. Listen, y'all tune in next time. We're gonna try to stay on task, but we're gonna be us. You know that.
We barbershop talk. This is what we do. We show
Yeah,
love and
that's how the barbershop gets sometimes.
I'm gonna tell y'all this. Let me say this.
Say it.
If we're the minority, why are we feared so much?
Right.
You're not gonna you if you're an army of 1,000, you're not gonna fear 10 people. But if you see us as giants, that's a whole different story. We're bigger than who we are. We're smarter than who we are. We are well. We already know we're more athletic. Every. But not only that is when we use this right here. Think about it. They want every kid. They want to train every kid to play sports. They don't train us. Think about what it was in the 50s and the 60s. We had doctors, engineers. Nah, fuck that. Let's go back all the way to the 20s. We had doctors, engineers. We had business owners. We had, our farming. Learn farming from us. We have to get back into agriculture. We lost that. We we
Right.
we lost so much that we built this country. I love it when they say, "Oh, they built the backs of our ancestors." Every country is built off the back of our ancestors. Spain, even Europe. I mean, let's go
All
to
of
Italy.
Europe. They did it.
Italy.
That's how they made
Exactly.
money.
We are builders. We are the. You know what, man? Let me get off, man, because we. We gonna stay on here. We're gonna stay on here. I'm gonna tell you now. I think that what's the longest podcast we did? I think we did what about 3 4 hours?
Yeah. Oh yeah, easy.
That
That
dude,
was
and we
back in
shut
the
that
day.
one down. Yeah, we shut that one down. I need to put that up. But this is our land. This is our home. Stop letting people tell you to go somewhere that you're not accustomed of, but they won't go back to where they from. So when somebody's telling you that I need you off this property or go back to Africa because I want what's yours. I guess you say a hotel.
Hotel. What's up, V?
so
That's my
so
man's. What's up, V?
so we this is what we do. If y'all want to donate to the podcast because this is what we do, we appreciate it. Tune in. We try to do it every Thursday. If we don't do it, and I'm gonna tell you what we don't do. If our energy is not right, if we both not on the same pattern, we won't do it. So that's one thing that I know that me and Jerome won't do is we don't want to put out a bunch of BS. We don't want to throw some stuff out there when you can go research and be like, yo, them dudes is wrong. So what we try to do, we try to put out real stuff, real facts. And I know we not the most knowledgeable. I'm not gonna talk like I'm from but at the same time, I will go research and I come back with it. Check out, y'all can even email us. Email us your question at the three-headed monster 17 on gmail.com. Three-headed monster. That's all spelled out. Three-headed monster at gmail.com. That's our email. If you want to reach us, look in the description. We put down any way that you want to reach us. If y'all anything y'all want us to talk about or want us to get it deep into,
Leave it in the comments on
leave it in the
YouTube.
comment because we will get into it. And I tell you what, if you want to, if you're willing to build, let me make sure I say that we want to build, and you want to put some good energy on, we'll let you come on and let's talk. If you come in here to debate, put some BS out here, nah, we done. We done because that's one thing that we have to get out of. We got to stop tearing down our people or our minds because we fight so much that they just sit back and they laugh at us. So anybody, yo, we don't mind, man. Like I said, we want to show love to people. You show us love, we show love back. So anything else, Jerome?
Nah, bro. Uh, um,
So
I was just
yeah,
trying to read that, but yeah, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, no matter where you at. Like I said, we get a lot of people from the other side of the water, and we
yeah,
appreciate y'all, and we appreciate our brothers and sisters here in the land. Um, all I can say is love one another. You know, that's where it starts. Love yourself. Peace.
peace.